Coming to you live from Huntsville Attic Studios, it's Pop Culture Philosophers. And here are your hosts, Rockin, Robbie, Billups, and John Hammertime Holshoe.
Hey everybody, it's the Pop Culture Philosophers, coming to you live from the Huntsville Attic in beautiful Huntsville, Alabama. Really excited about tonight's show. We're going to talk about 90s animation. That's right, 90s animation. We're going to talk about 90s animation on film, maybe some animated TV shows. Lots of animation. I'm excited to talk about this, especially since DuckTales just got relaunched. So I'm really excited to just talk about 90s in general and all the great animated stuff. Of course, I'm John Hammertime Holshoe. With me always is Rockin' Robbie Billups.
Hey everybody, what's up? Rockin' Robbie Billups here. Thank you guys for listening here on Pop Culture Philosophers, whether you're checking us out on YouTube, iTunes, or some other service. Right, John?
YouTunes, iTube.
YouTunes and iTube.
Don't go to iTube. That sounds like it might be.
iTube is actually just a crock of shit, so don't go there. No, super excited to be here doing 90s animation, and we got some 90s animation experts with us, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, we have Jelani Bullard with us.
Hey, guys.
Great to have you back on the show, buddy.
Yeah, I feel good, man. This is a good podcast, man. I want to be involved.
It's going to be fun. Jeremie Day is also with us, everybody.
What's up, everybody? Super sick to be back and talk about 90s animation. My favorite thing.
Yeah, dude. Like, what was it, last Halloween or 2 Halloweens? It was last Halloween you were Quail Man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I might be Quail Man
right.
again.
That was a great costume.
Thanks. I might be Quail Man again. I ain't got the money for a new costume.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great subject. Super excited, John.
I was excited last time when he was here and dressed up. He left quail eggs, and we had that for breakfast the following morning.
They were delicious.
So that was pretty awesome. So I guess we're going to start us off with, why are we doing a podcast about 90s animation? What's so great about 90s animation? Jeremie, I think, we're the first people we asked to be on the show. We're like, hey, we're doing 90s animation. Are you interested? You were excited to be on the show. What's so great about 90s animation to you?
Oh, man. So it really, to me, 90s animation, I feel like that's the time period where they stopped making as many shows for, like, toy selling purposes. Like, the artistic merit was enough to keep the show alive. And sure, we had a bunch of shows that still did that, but they were a lot, by and by, a lot of the better shows, they were clearly, like, I don't know, better made. You could tell that they weren't just built to sell some product.
It wasn't this 80s tie-in, like,
yeah.
hey, we have to have action figure lines, so we have to have a cartoon and vice versa.
Exactly. They weren't trying to just push crap on you. They were like, hey, man, this show's actually good, and you should watch it because there's good writing and good animation, and people love it.
Yeah, if it's a good enough show, it can sustain itself because you get advertisers want to push more, commercials because it's a popular show. A good show by itself should stand alone. I mean, there's a reason there's not Madman action figures. You know what I'm saying? Not that that's animated, but I'm saying
That's
a good
true.
show in and of itself. And there's some great animated stuff in the 90s.
Exactly.
Robbie, what about you? You were the one that suggested doing 90s animation. I was like, yeah, that's a great fucking idea.
Well, I mean, this is kind of a riff on what Jeremie just said, but it's rewatchability to me. Like, there's a lot of TV shows, cartoons, animated series, and stuff like that from the 80s that we really are we feel very nostalgic about. Things like Mask and He-Man and G.I. Joe and Transformers and Thundercats and Centurions and Bionic 6.
Tons of
But
But when you go back and you rewatch some of these things,
terrible.
they're bad.
Like, I can't watch He-Man anymore.
Yeah, He-Man's one of the worst offenders, man. And so with the 90s stuff, though, and like Jeremie said, maybe there were still toy lines and stuff, like X-Men had a toy line, and even James Bond Jr. had a toy line, which was awesome, by the way.
Yes.
But they really, there was more sophisticated storytelling in the 90s, and especially with the rise of, like, anime in popularity in the U.S., for instance. But, like, they cared more about the story, they cared more about the characters, and it led to animated series and animated movies that are completely rewatchable today, much more so than the stuff that came before.
Yeah, what about you, Jelani? You were, we asked you at the last second to fill in, and you were more, excited to join us, and I appreciate that, man. And you're a big fan of 90s animation.
I really am. I mean, I was raised in it, so I mean, it was the time of our lives. Apparently, that was like the beginning of middle school for me. So that's telling my age a little bit. But as far as like 90s animation, what it means like to me, it's growing up with values. You get those values, but at the same time, the 80s comic or the cartoons did the same thing, but it was a little better in the 90s because you have Spider-Man, and it's poppy, and it works out as far as a color palette that you have for a lot of different things. So I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot, and I love the 90s.
Did you watch that 90s? Now, when you got out in junior high, I would get out of school and go watch that block of Disney shows. Did you do that? Was that
Everyone
the same time?
did that, like
after
DuckTales,
school, right? DuckTales,
Tailspin,
Tailspin, Darkwing,
Chippendale,
whatever was
Darkwing
on in that
Duck,
block.
whatever that
Gummy
block
Bears.
was. And you,
Okay, I thought I was alone in this, but
No,
everybody watched
no.
that block after school.
That was our
think
thing
so.
to do. And the reason I say the color and the pop of what it was in the 90s, it was it was different. And it was a different time. Like, once again, I go back to the 80s. You have those toy selling things, the G.I. Joe, the Transformer, everything that was there to sell toys. When you have that factor in there, and then you take it away and give us a story, there's a lot of different things that have a story that you could tell. And I go back to Spider-Man. Spider-Man was actually compelling for me because it tells you a story that you you enjoy and you're invested in. And it's not to sell you a toy. I mean, I could care less about the toys they had. It was just great storytelling altogether. And that's why I like the 90s better than most things.
Yeah, I can't really add to what you guys said, other than the fact that the 90s, there definitely was a jump in both theatrical and TV and quality, but I think the budget went up.
Yeah.
They
that's
realized
a
they
lot better.
could, the popularity of these items and they could make money just on the show itself. So there's definitely a step up in quality of animation
Yeah.
for both, again, film and TV. Just look at some of the
Hand-drawn is the
80s
best.
stuff. Yeah, and again, they had perfected it and it really hit its peak, I think.
Right.
And then we jumped to HD in 2000, but that's a whole different cup of tea.
Yeah.
You know, John, you were talking about that afternoon block, like that Fox Kids block, especially.
Dude, I
you know,
love
like,
that
Yeah.
stuff.
And you know,
man.
like there was Animaniacs, the Tiny Toons, and Batman was on that
Batman,
block, and
animated series,
great stuff,
yeah.
and also the Saturday morning thing, which is that I don't even know if it's around anymore. Of course, back in
No.
the day, we would have loved to trade in Saturday morning cartoons for cartoons all the time.
Right.
Like is a
You
know the way
want
it is now.
cartoons. Now they just do nature shows.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Cartoons are dead now.
But one of the crazy things about those shows in particular is they all have amazing theme songs.
Oh,
So
yeah.
let's get into some theme song type stuff because I love music and I love TV music. What are your favorite animated series from the 90s? What are your favorite theme songs? I'm going to start with Jeremy. What do you think?
Oh man, so definitely X-Men, of course.
Oh my god.
I think most people know that.
Yeah. Everybody does it.
Yeah, I think everybody knows that theme song. It was my ringtone for quite a while.
Nice.
Then Gargoyles. I don't know if you remember how epic it was. Yes, exactly. I don't know. It gave you a good insight about. It's like you knew it was coming with Gargoyles. It's like it's about to be really epic. That music is epic as shit.
Awesome.
Batman, same deal. Epic
Yeah.
music.
Oh, yeah,
It's like it's about to be real
has
epic,
to
man.
And of course, the Danny Elfman theme from the movie with
course.
Batman.
Yes.
But such a great opening, too.
Now, did Danny Elfman do the show? I mean, it's his
No,
style.
it's his music.
Is it 100% him?
That
Or was it
was-
just somebody cloning his stuff from Batman and
quote me
Batman
on that.
Returns?
That's-
I'm pretty sure that he actually composed that theme
Okay.
Oh
for
man.
the animated series.
Yeah,
but if
it's
not,
epic.
it's basically someone just cutting together.
Yeah, his
The
style.
main theme.
The style of that show is based on the '89 movie. I mean,
Oh,
it
yeah.
is.
It
Yeah.
goes
in
heavily.
huge ways.
Yeah, probably with a lot of Art Deco,
Huge
but
ways.
heavily.
It's really
and it's
noir.
dark and it's film noir. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
And of course, the Darkwing Duck opening. Oh man.
It's pretty much the same thing. It's like
Let's
Disney's
get
answer to
dangerous.
to Batman.
Called DW.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, Disney
Animaniacs.
especially.
It's
Yeah.
cool.
That was-
Animaniacs is a good one.
Animaniacs had a
Yeah.
good one.
Oh, yeah.
Animaniacs, yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. But
And
yeah.
you come home from school and like you get ready, you're like, oh gosh, there's animation on. I
Oh,
can
yeah.
watch all of
Dude,
these things.
When you get off that bus and you like run into the house at
can't
the speed of
wait.
light, it's like, dude, it's time to watch TV.
What about you, Jelani? What are your favorite animated songs from animated themes from the 90s?
Man, he said like most of them.
Yeah, right? Way to go, Jeremy.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all right, man. I'll go back to Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Oh man,
Dude,
yes.
the guitarist from Aerosmith, who was that, Joe Perry?
Yeah.
Man.
He did that song.
No way.
Composed it, yes. Yeah, he did.
It's awesome, dude. I don't know why, because like it has a rock beat, and I'm not like a fan of rock music, but I love that song, and it gets you pumped for it. Active Spider-Man.
That's a good one, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
yeah.
it. So, that's like, that's my tops. Then there's X-Men, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
X-Men is genius. And, it pulls you in. All the Fox Kids stuff. Fox Kids for a long time, man. They had really great animated shows, and like the Disney block that they have also had great shows. Those DuckTales and Tailspin that we talk about.
Absolutely. What about you, John? What are your favorite animated series theme songs from the 90s?
Now that you brought it up, I got it stuck in my head because it wasn't on my list. But the James Bond Jr. song, man.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
James Bond Jr.
You got to
Wait a
explain
minute,
this.
and I guess James Bond. I guess it was his nephew. Anyway. How was he James Bond Jr. if it's his nephew?
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
Well,
But
Your name alone.
and then obviously they relaunched DuckTales recently, and they used that same theme song. I love that theme song to DuckTales.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen the new one.
Oh, the new one's great.
Please.
Life is like
I
a
will.
Yeah.
Do you understand that DuckTales is my jam?
Oh, it's amazing,
Like,
and
it's my
they did.
jam.
It's a great voice cast. I love the new show, but the original show, that song,
it blows
the
it away.
Tailspin theme song,
Just spin it.
yeah. So all the Disney stuff, but going away from stuff we already discussed, I'm going to sneak one in here because this threw me for a loop when Robbie and I were discussing. He's like, "Of course, anime is included when we talk about animation." I'm like, "Anime from the '90s." So if we're going to go theme song, Cowboy Bebop. Holy shit!
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
that.
Tank.
That was
Yeah,
the
Tank,
90s.
man.
Is that the...
That's
was
Tank.
that 97?
Yeah, what a
When was
great theme song. Holy
What
shit!
year was that?
That was
Cowboy Bebop started in like 97, 98, something like
yeah,
that. We looked it up.
very late '90s.
It was late 90s, but yeah, it worked. Yeah, those are some good
A
hits.
great theme song.
I agree with all you guys. I mean, Batman, obviously.
Of course.
Right? Animaniacs.
Yep.
Yeah.
X-Men.
X-Men.
Come on, right? Good stuff. DuckTales. Come on. Right?
Well,
Even though
DuckTales
DuckTales,
was
it
in the
ended in
80s.
1990,
Yeah.
but I got to throw it in there.
Trickles
90s enough.
over.
Okay.
But
Well, then I'll put-
Chippendales
change my
Rescue
top
Rangers has a great theme song.
five. Chippendales.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
But one that I want to say that maybe I don't think we've mentioned is Tiny Toons. Tiny Toons Adventures.
Oh man, I don't know why I forgot
tiny.
that.
We're
Yeah, I didn't forget
We're
it.
all
It's
a
just
little
it's-
loony.
yeah.
It's a great sound. It's a great theme song because it's a big homage to the original Looney Tunes songs,
Yeah.
and it works so well, and I love it. Absolutely.
It's great.
So there's some great theme songs done by some great musicians, but there's also some great voice actors for these shows. Some unfortunately, I'm going to say that there's some that I really like and I identify with certain character, and then they do another voice in a different show, and it fucks with my brain, man. Because I'm like, wait, I know that person. So there's some great voice actors. If you know some of the voice actors, I mean, some of you guys will probably want to talk about the specific characters if you don't know the character, if you don't know the actor. But I'm going to start with Jelani. Who are some of your favorite voice actors, if you can identify them, from the 90s?
Okay. I already had this thought out. I love Kevin Conroy.
Oh, yeah. He does a great job as Batman.
He's Batman. Like, he's the voice of Batman. And if you think about it, for a long time, he's consistently the best Batman that we've ever had.
Yeah, because
So
other
I
people
really
have filled
like
in,
him.
but he's come back.
He
and
comes back
He's
and
got
he
that
makes it-
sound. You're
It's
right,
the
man.
gravitas.
Yeah, holy
And
shit.
It's spectacular. But I go to him, and then I go to like what's his name from Bender from Futurama? That's Joe DiMaggio.
John
John
DiMaggio.
DiMaggio.
John DiMaggio.
John
I think
DiMaggio.
that's the baseball
Joe
player.
DiMaggio.
Not Joe DiMaggio.
Joe
Yeah.
DiMaggio, that's different.
Bender-
That's news to me.
Yeah, he's in a bunch of stuff. He's also Marcus Phoenix from the Gears of Wars games.
Really?
Yeah, he does a bunch
He
of
was
stuff.
the
A lot
Joker
of
in
art's
Red
work.
Hood.
He's
He was
Jake
the
the
Joker
dog.
in Red Hood.
Yeah,
He's Jake the dog.
He's a lot of
yeah,
things.
dude, he
Yeah.
does so many voices. He is
Yeah.
fantastic. But you're
I
right,
would
he's
go with
Bender.
Bender.
Yeah, bite
Yeah.
my shiny
Bite
metal
my shiny
ass.
middle ass. Yeah, it's
Dude, I
pretty cool.
fucking love Bender.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But those are some of my top deals. There are a lot of people that are they're voice actors, and like Bobby Hill is played by a female. I was trying to remember the other actor that played Gadget. Who was Gadget?
Like Inspector Gadget?
No, not Inspector
Gadget from Chippendale.
Chippendale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
Chippendale
Gadget.
Rescue Rangers. Gadget from
I don't know.
Yeah, she's in a lot of stuff. It's a girl actor, but she plays a lot of boy characters too. I can't remember, but she's one of the ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's done a bunch of
To
voices.
throw
There are some,
that in there.
There are some people that do a lot of.
There
If
are
you
a
go
lot of
back and
voice
start
actors.
looking at some of these like Saturday blocks, they do like 4
Yeah.
different voices.
Yeah.
Because they're great voice talent. It's nice
Right.
to see
and
them.
Patty Mayonnaise. I can't remember her name, but she's in Orange is the New Black right now. Whoever she is, Patty Mayonnaise in that voice. And you should know this, Jeremy.
I don't know. I know female voice actors, but I can't remember.
Yeah, but she's in Orange and the New Black. I can't remember her name, but she's a great actor as well. I'm throwing out a lot of them.
Speaking of great female voice actors, Jeremie.
What?
Hi, Jeremie.
Who are some of your favorite female or male voice actors from the 90s? There's some great ones up there, man.
So I had a list so I wouldn't forget because there's a bunch. Okay, so Rob Paulson. And
who's he play?
So Raphael.
Okay.
From the old TMNT.
Yeah.
But he's also Donatello now, I think, in the new one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
He
He is.
He was also Pinky.
Yeah, he's Pinky.
He's Pinky.
Yeah.
He's Yakko Warner.
Yeah.
Arthur from The Tick, and Mighty Max, if you remember that
Holy
cartoon.
shit,
Yeah.
man.
I have him on my list. Rob Paulson.
nice.
I think as a voice actor, he definitely defined a lot of my childhood with like the stuff he was
Well
in.
done.
Yeah, and then Charlie Adler, who was Bev and Ed Big Head,
Right.
Ickis, Cow and Chicken, and Buster Bunny.
Yep.
Yep.
Holy shit.
That's
Boys.
right. Tiny
Yeah,
Toons.
super awesome.
Yeah.
Jim Cummings, of course, Darkwing Duck.
Of course.
Darkwing Duck, dude. Darkwing Duck.
Well done.
And also, he was Winnie the Pooh and Tigger and Bonkers.
Oh, I
From-
forgot
you
about
remember
Bonkers.
Totally nuts.
I fucking
Bonkers.
love Bonkers,
Yes.
man.
Yes.
Holy, how did I forget
I
about
forgot
Bonkers?
And
yeah.
then Kevin Conroy, of course, and
Yeah.
Tara Strong, who was Bubbles, Dill Pickles, Timmy Turner, and Raven.
And she was Harley Quinn, wasn't she?
Was she Harley Quinn as
I
well?
think she was Harley Quinn.
Holy
as well.
shit.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
she is.
She's
Harley
done
Quinn.
a lot of voices.
Yeah, she does so many voices I
Yeah.
actually forget. And let's
That's
see.
one of the people I was talking about.
Billy West, Ren and Stimpy, of course. Frank Welker, Fred from, of course, Scooby-Doo, and also Bronx from Gargoyles.
Yeah.
But he does mostly like, okay, so I was thinking about this. Frank Welker was doing like, you know who D. Bradley Baker is, right?
Yeah.
He does a lot of like voices, but he also does a lot of like sound effects. Frank Welker was doing that beforehand.
He did Skeletor, didn't he?
Frank Welker?
Didn't he do?
He was, Ray Stantz? No. Yes. From
Ghostbusters. From Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
The
And
real
he
Ghostbusters.
in the Extreme Ghostbusters that came later, he reprised the role.
Oh, okay.
So he stayed with it for a while. And
Wow.
and then there's Cree Summer, who was like number 5.
Yeah, Chris Summer was in a different world.
Yeah, in a different world. That's
Yeah.
that's one of the places she got her
remember
start on. And
Yeah.
she was Penny.
She's on Penny.
Yeah, Inspector Gadget, and she's a couple other
It's like she's in Tiny
Foxy
Toons.
Love from Drawn Together, if you remember that. Yeah, But
Holy
she's-
crap.
Yeah, Chris Summers in a lot of stuff.
But yeah, those are some of my
those
tops.
are great. Good list.
Robbie, can you add to that? Because I think Jeremie covered everybody in
Well-
the voice acting business.
Well, I do have Kevin Conroy on my list here and Rob Paulson. But I'd give a quick shout out. Jonathan Frakes was a voice in Gargoyles. He was the bad guy, the human.
Xanatos.
Yes.
right, Xanatos.
So that was cool. Townsend Coleman did the voice of the Tick and Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles one there. I would also add in the entire cast of The Simpsons.
Oh man, I totally forgot that.
Like the entire cast, like Hank
Hank
Azaria,
Azaria.
Yeah.
Nancy
Hank Azaria does such a
Cartwright,
good job.
Dan
Castellano.
Harry Shearer, Julie Kavner, like an amazing
Everyone.
voice, like
And
the
everyone's
entire
still there.
cast of The Simpsons.
Yes.
But yeah,
That's
those are the ones that absolutely I love those guys. They work so well together, and of course, I mean, one of the greatest voice actors in animation is Phil LaMarr.
Oh
Yes.
my god.
And a lot of
How
stuff
do
that
you
he's
forget Phil LaMarr?
he's super popular for a lot of stuff like Samurai Jack and like in the
in Futurama.
2000s. But yeah, even in the 90s, he was doing a lot of work. And of course, that's Marvin from Pulp Fiction.
He's full
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
What about you, John?
Man,
what do you
I
think?
don't even have an opinion.
I'm surprised you guys didn't mention the
Mark
greatest
Hamill?
laugh.
Oh no.
yeah.
We were saving that for you, John, because
Mark
we love you
Hamill.
so much.
Everyone's just saying working.
I love Mark Hamill. He does such a good job, and I mean, he's reprised the role multiple times, like Kevin Conroy has done in other animated stuff
He's
and in
amazing.
games. And he's got
Games.
again that laugh, and to think that Luke Skywalker is that guy it blows my mind. The other one I want to give a shout out to is, and this guy's got a very distinct voice, so I can't listen to him. And he's done multiple things. Most importantly, he was Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop, and that's Steve Bloom. But he also did the guy from Big O.
Oh,
And he,
that's right.
you know, which
They
I think
sound the same.
was Big O in the 2000s or was that
Yes.
90s?
I
We
think it
discussed
was
that.
early
right?
2000s.
Early 2000s.
Okay,
but
He's
so
still.
he's done a bunch of things
He's Tom.
in the anime world, but he's got a very distinct voice. I'd say as distinct as like Kevin Conroy, because Kevin Conroy is a great voice actor, but he doesn't do all these different characters like certain people do. And the last one I get a shout out to is, now this is a show that started in the late 90s, very tail end, and a show that's been canceled multiple times, Family Guy. Seth MacFarlane does such a variety of voices. Seth MacFarlane, though, does so many different voices, and he does a great job, and he does like 80% of the voices in that fucking show himself.
Yeah.
You know, he did the voice of James Bond Jr.
That
That's
would have
true.
blew my mind if that was true. James Bond Jr.
Yeah, but it's not true.
It's not.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
We
at
should
all.
get
That is
that. We
false.
should bring that show back. Let's get together.
Let's do it.
Retraction.
Yeah, Daniel Craig can be the old
Daniel Craig.
crotchety uncle.
Can we just get him in one episode? Just
Yeah,
the
that
first
would be
one.
amazing.
That's all we
You know
need.
what? We'll take Timothy Dalton instead. Friend of the show.
Yep.
Yeah,
We'll
that's
do
probably a
that.
lot cheaper.
He's gonna get here one day.
He'll be here next episode, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an all Timothy Dalton special.
That's awesome. All Timothy all day.
All right, those are some good answers there to the voice actors. Of course, you got to pay respect to the people who provide the voices to the animated pictures that are moving in front of us as we're watching them. But the characters that they voice, though, who are your favorite characters from 90s animation? I'm going to start with Jelani. What do you think?
Okay. There's a character, and I can't remember his name. I mean the actor that plays him. I will say this: he was in Mr. Ed. And my favorite character is Scrooge McDuck.
Oh,
man.
Scrooge McDuck.
Scrooge McDuck. What's the guy's name? He passed away a few years ago.
That voice is Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah.
oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
But now
No.
it's the Doctor Who guy that voices him now. And he
It's
does a
David Tennant
fantastic
now.
job.
Tennant. David
Dude,
Tennant.
David
He was my
Tennant.
favorite doctor.
Dude, he kills it. He does such a good
he's
job as Uncle
excellent.
Scrooge.
Yeah, he's awesome. But the original Uncle
From
Scrooge,
the animated,
which is awesome.
from the Christmas Carol, Disney Christmas Carol, right?
Right.
Was that the same actor that did the Christmas Carol that did the show?
I don't know.
Okay.
You
Anyway,
we gotta
yeah.
Google that one day.
But I
Alan Young.
yeah.
Alan Young.
There you go.
Okay then. There we
But
go.
Scrooge McDuck
Yeah.
is awesome.
He just
Created
passed
by
away.
Carl Barks, of course.
Thank you.
They toned him down a little bit in the news
He's
show.
one of my favorite characters. He's Scrooge McDuck is like rich. He's rich beyond rich. Like
You can't swim in coins
he
like that. It does
swims
not
in
work.
coins because
Doesn't
he's
work.
so rich.
It's solid matter.
Like it's so
We
awesome.
know that.
So
ducks don't talk
like
either.
he's
Or-
given or walk
Good point.
around or own money.
That's what
property.
That's what bothers you about that show.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
only thing I had wrong with that
Really?
show.
Okay. Well, Scrooge McDuck, like he's just one of my favorite characters in general in the '90s.
it's a great one.
So the fact that he's that rich and he has to take care of his nephews for this time, and he's like so mad about it. And that's why DuckTales appealed to me for some reason. I was like, these kids are thrust upon him and he doesn't want them.
Yeah.
And he's like, I really can't stand the fact that I got to take care of these kids. I'm so rich. I want to do something. And he wants to go on adventures and do things, but he's got these kids now.
Yeah.
And it's a different thing.
It's a different thing. It actually makes
Anyway.
it quite the duck blur for his life. That's pretty funny. Jeremy, what do you think? Some of your favorite characters from 90s animation?
I am the terror that flaps in the night.
Yes.
Darkwing
Yes, sir.
Duck, baby. Yes. So, like as a kid,
It's a spinoff.
man, I know that.
Yeah.
And DuckTales is great, but Darkwing,
Jeremy got offended. He's
But
like,
I
I
was
know
like-
that.
I know
that.
DuckTales is great, but Darkwing Duck is better.
Yeah, you're right.
And like,
I agree.
Whoa, I don't-
I agree.
I think so. I mean, okay, so
I say it's expanding on the universe. That's what
I'll
I
give you
say.
that, but I don't know.
It's world building.
So, kid me enjoyed Darkwing Duck more because of the action and before I knew, I thought it was Batman based, but I guess it's based on the Shadow.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, it's
knockoff
a
of
shadow.
Shadow.
Yeah.
Well, when I was younger, I sure didn't know that, and I didn't
Yeah.
care because I thought it was awesome.
It was awesome.
And then let's see, I got my little list here. Then Yakko, Wacko, and Dot Warner, all three of them.
three.
Stop
You got-
stealing my list.
You got to have the package. You can't just have one. And on that, also Pinky and the Brain.
Yep.
Freakazoid.
That's another great theme song,
Oh.
actually. The Pinky
I'm
the
happy you brought
Brain.
up
said
Freakazoid.
Freakazoid.
I didn't
Yep.
think anybody remember Freakazoid. I love
Yeah,
Freakazoid.
Freakazoid.
Dude,
awesome.
everything Steven Spielberg touched in animation back in the 90s was dope as hell.
Yep.
That's
Don't even
true.
worry.
It was gold.
I will never forget this. Another one, I guess I would go with Scrooge McDuck too, but I mean, like DuckTales is like late 80s, early 90s.
I love that junk.
But I love me some Scrooge
but it's
McDuck,
in the
too.
Time. It ended in 1990.
It did end in 90. I mean, it's one of those weird
It's-
things.
it's
It's like
right there.
Chippendale's Rescue Rangers is kind of like the same thing. It's like 89 to 90, so it's like,
Right.
where does it
Yeah.
fall? But DuckTales was 87 to 90, so
Right.
it is more 80s. But, I mean, you guys want to talk about Scrooge McDuck? That's fine with me, man.
I love
Yeah.
Scrooge McDuck,
Well,
man.
it did trickle in the 90s, and then it was just, they reran the shit out of
Oh,
it
yes.
in the
Yeah,
90s.
they did.
That's true.
And like Batman and all the X-Men, of course, Spider-Man, all the like comic book animated shows. And let's see what else.
They had more depth.
Yeah, they I feel like
Yeah.
they were cooler, but then Goliath from Gargoyles.
Gargoyles.
man.
Yes, I love
You keep bringing up Gargoyles, and it is an excellent show. That
underrated.
should
Had a
go
really
top
good
5.
cult following
Yeah,
and stuff,
man.
but it just didn't. I guess I don't know. Kids Kids, man.
I love that
Kids.
show though. Like it was on at a weird time. It was like
It was all over the place.
It was all over the place. It was a really good show,
At
though.
night, but
It was-
you
They're
had to
really cool.
find it.
They're really cool toys too. Speaking of really cool toys, John, you don't have really cool toys, but you do have a few, and they're really, really cool. So tell us, what are your favorite '90s animation characters?
I'm so confused by this segue.
So am I.
I think we covered a lot of them. You know, there's some from anime I want to bring up, but I'll probably skip over those. What I do want to bring up, though, is the greatest duo since Batman and Robin. And, of course, I'm talking about Baloo and Kit Cloudkicker.
Yes.
They're a good
Tailspin.
team.
What a great team, man. What a great
They're
team.
That's a great one. Tailspin.
Tailspin.
I like
Just because it's a great team.
team.
Seriously, Jeremy, I think, has been stealing my list because I got Yakko, Wacko, and Dot. Because
Yeah.
you got to have the whole pair. I have
Yeah.
Scrooge McDuck here, of course, too. But Launchpad.
Launchpad
How
McQuack.
awesome is Launchpad?
Did you see in the
I was gonna put
news
him
or
on
whatever
the
that the
list,
creators, like the Launchpad and Darkwing, it has no relation to the Launchpad and DuckTales? They're completely different.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I'm like,
they're
what the
not.
That's what the creator just came out and
Doesn't
said.
he even
Doesn't make any fucking
doesn't even
sense.
reference Duckburg and
Yeah,
all that
Yeah,
kind of
they
stuff?
go
in
to
Darkwing
he
No.
Duck?
came from Duckburg.
Isn't
to
there
Lion.
even a crossover at some point?
Yes.
Not
Well-
like not that Scrooge shows up, but doesn't like
There's
somebody.
Gizmo Duck?
Like Gizmo's in there.
Gizmo
Yeah.
Duck.
Gizmo Duck.
He comes
Yeah, I'm
from
saying I'm calling
DuckTales.
bullshit.
It's in the same world. It's world building.
And of course, you cannot beat Wolverine
Dude.
from
Yeah.
that '90s animated series.
Where I wanna go.
Tell Cyclops I made him a convertible.
It's so awesome.
But one
So
character.
awesome. I
One
love it.
character from the '90s X-Men series I really want to spotlight because it was a creation of the '90s X-Men
Jubilee?
animated series.
Morph.
And Wolverine loved him some
Oh,
Morph,
I
apparently.
forgot about
Yes.
Morph.
Like him and
Wolverine,
Morph?
5 seasons, Wolverine never got over the death of Morph. And then he came back as a bad guy. So cool. I love Morph. Got to talk about Morph there. Some great characters.
You said Morph.
Oh, I love Morph, man. Like, right?
Yes.
Some great characters. And
Was
yeah,
it
Jubilee.
Morph?
I love Jubilee in that animated series
was
as well.
cool.
Cyclops didn't really like him that much, and Jean was really not as badass as she typically is in the comics. In that,
Gene.
yeah, and
Scott. Gene.
But some great characters in that. Of course, Wolverine was an amazing and the voice actor that played Wolverine. There's one I don't remember his name,
I
but
don't know his name at all.
dude, that guy.
Yes.
Oh
He gets
my
all the money.
G.
I forget his name too, but he did a good job.
We got lots of more fun 90s animation stuff coming up in our next segment, including villains. That's right. We haven't talked about our villains yet. Favorite animated villains coming up. And also a look into anime. John's excited about that one. We'll be right back on Pop Culture Philosophers 90s Animation. Hey everybody, Rockin' Robbie here. I want to talk to you real quick about the Pop Culture Philosophers on Patreon. That's right, we are now on Patreon where you can support us for as little as $1 a month. What will that get you? Well, for starters, it will get you access to our brand new exclusive Patreon show, PCP After Hours. That's right. After every podcast, we keep the mics live for about 15 to 20 minutes, and we just let it ride. We release that exclusive to our Patreon supporters. Also, you can get shout-outs in our videos. You can also get your name listed in the credits of our videos and other cool special treats and more announcements coming soon, including a Patreon-exclusive contest each month. So get on patreon.com/PCP. That's an easy one to remember, right? Patreon.com/PCP to get your instant access to exclusive Pop Culture Philosophers content. Hey everybody, welcome back to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups. I'm here with John Hammertime Holshoe,
Oh, yeah.
Jelani Bullard,
Hey.
and Jeremie Day.
What's up?
We are talking about 90s animation. It's a great show so far. And for the next segment, I want to ask you guys, because we're talking about 90s animated series and animated movies and just cool 90s animation stuff. And we've talked about our characters and the voice actors and the theme songs, all that stuff. What world would you live in? What 90s animated world would you live in if you could just go into their alternate dimension, the parallel universe of whatever show or whatever movie, and live there? what would it be and why? And I'm going to start with Jeremie. What do you think?
Okay, so initially I was thinking maybe like the X-Men, like Marvel, but
That's a terrible
Yeah, I don't
idea.
want to die. Like, I would just be, if I'm just
I
me,
wanna
it's,
die.
I just die. So I'm going to go with the safe bet and stick with my Darkwing Duck here and go with Saint Canard.
Okay.
Awesome.
I mean, there's villains, of course. It's almost like Gotham Light. So safe.
Okay.
It's safe with whimsy and Disney values.
A
So,
safe version of a superhero world.
exactly. Like, I don't have to die like in Gotham
And
or
most of
something.
those villains are incompetent, which helps a lot.
Like, it's easy to beat them. I can just fool them with like some shenanigans. It's like cartoon shenanigans, baby.
I like that. What about you, John? What do you think?
I'm also going to pick a sister city to that city, and that was going to be Cape Suzette, which is the city from Tailspin.
Yeah.
Because honestly, well,
That's a
it's
good-
not just the
that's
city,
good.
but the world, because you've got this, first off, they were like for hire, you know what I'm saying? They transported stuff. That's cool that they get to fly in
Yeah, like their
airplanes.
job.
Yeah, they're not only their job, but you go to Louis, he's got this cool island with the bar on it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, just the whole traveling and the
He's
whole
not trying to
realm.
kill you there.
Yeah, and apparently in that world, and I didn't realize as much in the 90s as a kid as I do now, gravity is not as important. It fucking
Not
is.
at all. Because
Yeah.
Cloud Kicker
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah, some crazy shit happens.
Yeah.
But I would love to be in one of those planes. I might actually, I hate to say it, I might even be one of the pirates.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I might be one of the
I forgot
bad
about
guys because they had the cool fucking big airships and stuff.
Yeah, they did.
Dude, I love that world, man.
That's super cool. What about you, Jelani? What animated world from the 90s would you live in?
Man, there's like a lot of worlds that you live in.
How philosophical.
Yeah.
I know. I told you I'd be philosophical here. Well, I wrote it down this time. Unfortunately, you took it, and it was Saint Canard.
oh, shit.
I mean, that's fine.
Saint
Double up.
Canard is pretty brilliant. It's dark, but it's not too dark. It's not like Gotham dark. You know, some bad stuff's gonna happen, but like the Beagle Boys are gonna show up, and then you get Darkwing Duck.
Them big boys,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
they up to no good.
And
They
both
don't-
of you guys can
yeah.
come. Both you guys can come fly and visit me, or I could fly and visit you.
Right.
Flum-
Yeah.
I said flum.
We're
fly.
going to like Disney universes for
Yeah.
like peaceful, calm places to live.
Talking about a shared universe. That's the
Yes.
one they need to bring back right there, right?
Oh yeah.
They mentioned
It
it
does
kind of in
happen.
the new DuckTales that there's like
I hope
other
so.
the other cities exist.
I heard that
Can't wait.
Darkwing Duck is going to be on the show.
Yes.
Like,
Oh my
yes,
God.
that's
Was
good.
that true? I did not know that.
I've heard that. I don't know if
It's
it's for
coming.
real, like confirmed, but I've heard it.
We can at least put that in the rumor mill.
That's fine. I'm okay with it.
What 90s animated world I would live in, guys? Good answers. Because I just like you guys, I was like, well, Batman's cool, but no,
Beat
you
my answer.
you wouldn't want to live in Gotham at all. You
No.
wouldn't want to live in the world of the X-Men, really.
No.
I'm going to go with Pro Stars. I would want to live in the world of Pro Stars. I want to be part of the team.
I
with
forgot
Bo-
about. Is that Bo Jackson?
Yeah, with Bo
and-
Jackson, Michael Jordan, and Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
What?
Oh
I
yeah.
Oh
forgot
my
all
God.
about that show.
That's where I want to live,
One of the
guys.
greatest
Obscure.
shows of all time.
Yes.
That won
You
4
said-
Emmys.
Why? Wait.
Pro
why
Stars.
Pro Stars?
Why Pro Stars? Because I want to be a
Please explain
sidekick
this.
to Bo Jackson, Michael Jordan, and Wayne Gretzky.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were like my favorite sports stars in the 90s growing up, and then all of a sudden they were like superheroes.
superheroes.
Yeah.
When you want to
together.
just be Michael Jordan, then like I
Yeah, I wanna
want to
be
be
Michael
Michael Jordan
Jordan.
in that world. I don't want to be his sidekick. I want to be Michael Jordan.
But that still means living in that world.
That means you're not.
I mean, I
like, you're
guess.
Scottie Pippen, I guess.
Wouldn't you rather be Darkwing Duck?
I mean, yeah.
There
Yeah.
you go. So I choose Pro Stars, but a very close second.
Really?
A very close second would probably be. Well, I had one. I forgot it.
Well, listen. I thought you were gonna say like High School Musical or something.
Oh, that's totally
that's-
2000s, man,
I know.
and not animated.
I know. I was just throwing it in there for fun.
No, but it's also a place that the villains aren't so scary.
All right.
So we were talking about our what world we live in because of the villains are so scary. What are your favorite villains? I'll just cut to the chase. No segue. I mean, Robbie, I think, led me in there, okay? There are some great villains in the 90s, not only the shows, but the films. Holy shit, there's some villains. Because, you know, maybe they don't have to have a villain for every episode, for every show. But these films, especially the Disney films, there's some epic, holy shit, some epic villains. So I'm actually going to start with Jelani and go clockwise so the audience that's watching that can't see us knows we're going clockwise.
That sounds clockwise.
Jelani, what are some of your favorite animated villains?
I only have one that scared the pants pee out of me. it's Shere Khan
Oh,
from Tailspin.
dude, Shere Khan is
Oh
so
my God.
awesome.
Like Shere Khan from Tailspin is a businessman.
Yeah, an evil businessman.
He's just evil. He's like
also
the
a tiger.
Lex Luthor.
Yeah,
and he's a tiger.
He's a tiger.
He's gonna kill you. And like the way he was in that show, like of villains, and like I said, I love DuckTales. DuckTales may be my favorite show, but we're not getting there yet. And a lot of different things, but I loved Shere Khan because, well, he was drawn well. And I hate to say that. In 90 animation, it is drawn. All of it. The majority is drawn. And it's perfect. And I love the way Shere Khan looks. Like his look, he's menacing.
Yeah.
And you get that from it. And I love the way he's drawn because he's very sharply drawn. Like even his stripes come at you differently. And he looks at you like he's intimidating. And I'm scared of that. I don't know why. It's the eyes and the face and just the way he looked. It kind of scared the crap out of me. As far as villains after that, Kingpin from Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
is pretty good. I love Spider-Man. I love that show altogether. I love the fact they introduced Venom. It was the comic-y way, but I liked Venom as well in Spider-Man, and I love that show.
Robbie, who are some of your favorite animated villains?
Mr. Freeze. From
Oh,
the
yeah.
Batman animated
Nora.
series. Better than he'd ever been in the comic book at the time. Movies, there's Jafar and there's Scar.
Oh yeah,
is awesome.
Jeremy
Scar.
Irons.
Shit.
Jeremy Scar Irons. Mojo Jojo. Yes.
Oh, from the X-Men
right?
show.
But if I had to pick one, it's going to be one of the most heinous villains in 90s animation. That's Fat Cat.
Oh my God.
From Chippendales Rescue
Yes.
Rangers.
He was always
He was evil.
It was pretty much always 90% of the time it
gangster.
was him. It was
Yeah,
always
he was just always the bad guy. Did they have other villains?
Well, they're
Or-
rodents. Of course, the bad guy's a
Yeah.
fat cat. And I just like the parallel there.
Is
He's
it
the
funny?
fat cat.
Is it funny
pretty
because you, in fact, have your own cat and he's morbidly obese?
Yeah, there's that. Plus, big shout out to Negaduck.
I forgot about him.
No, I
He's
didn't.
like the evil reverse Darkwing, right?
He was cool though.
Jeremy.
He wore yellow.
Yeah, he did
So-
wear Jeremy.
Yeah.
Well, Robbie just stole Negaduck, so that's one. That's one.
I think you guys were stealing each other's notes before the show.
That's not even written down in my notes, but I just felt it
like,
coming, and I was like, I'm going to steal this from
I
Jerry.
know.
Yeah, he was yellow and
Payback.
red, right?
Yeah, he was the opposite color of Darkwing Duck, basically. I don't even know if is yellow and red the opposite of purple.
Not
And
really.
I was supposed to say, no.
Not at all.
That's not the opposite at all. He's just Negaduck. Whatever.
It's like screw you, Darkwing Duck.
Roger Klotz. Is he a villain? Who knows? But yeah, he's a bully. Villain enough, right? So Roger Klotz from Doug. Mr. Freeze, of course.
The guy with the red hair from Doug.
Yeah, Roger. He was green.
He
Roger
was,
Klotz.
He was green with the red. Yeah.
Yes.
Dude, what a jerk.
He was, I mean, like, pretty villainous, right? That's, I don't know. Angelica from Rugrats.
Man, what about?
Oh
yeah,
she is evil.
I mean, she's the villain of their universe, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Major props to Rugrats there, man. Oh my
and
goodness.
of course, David Xanatos from Gargoyles.
Yes, Jonathan Frakes himself.
Yes, yes, dude. Like
Commander Xanatos.
There were so
I
many,
had
like-
his action figure, and he had that like mechanical gargoyle thing that you could clip onto him. Do you remember that?
do remember that.
Oh my
Yes,
god,
yeah. So that's me and villains.
those are good.
Yeah,
You
thanks.
picked a good list. Well done.
I try.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and add to that.
Yeah, what about
said-
you, John?
You said you were talking about Tailspin earlier. I'm going to talk about Don Carnage, who is the lead of the pirates.
Yes.
I really liked him. I mean,
Your future boss in your perfect world.
yeah. He had that accent. And he was always saying stupid shit and doing stupid shit. But I also love the fact they flow around like biplanes with their heads pop.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I forgot about
always
that,
get in
man.
trouble. Everybody's always shooting each other. Nobody ever bleeds in that
Yeah,
show. Nobody ever
never,
gets hit,
never.
luckily. So we already talked about that. I'm also going to mention, if we're going to jump into anime real quick, something terrifying was the angels from Evangelion.
Oh, yeah.
Again, that's
Oh,
anime,
God.
but
You're
just the
right.
idea these things were falling
They
from the
exist.
sky, and they were called angels, and they were here to destroy us.
Right.
Pretty terrifying. I also love the fact that they actually call them angels because they do drop from the sky. Sometimes they find them in underground, like there was one in lava or whatever.
Yeah.
But pretty awesome. And then if we're going to include films, and we were earlier because I was talking about Scar and stuff, one that we didn't mention from the Batman is the movie. is that Mask of the Phantasm and the Phantasm.
The Phantasm.
What a great character overall. Just an awesome character.
You
Love
know,
the Phantasm.
speaking of Mask of the Phantasm, which was an amazing animated film of the 90s, and is on my list here as one of my favorite 90s animated films is Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Really?
So let's go into here real quick because our top 5 tonight is going to be based on an animated series. But let's talk about the movies because there was a lot of good animated films in the 90s. Great stuff from many different studios, including, of course, Disney, right? So right off the bat, we mentioned Scar being a great villain. Lion King is an amazing movie. Mulan is an amazing movie. I just recently watched Mulan within the last year for the first time. Dude, my whole life I was blind to the best 90s Disney movies.
Make a man.
Dude, yeah, I'll
out
make a man
of
of you.
you.
Dude, what an amazing movie.
It gave us so
good.
I was Mushu there for a while.
Absolutely. So, Jelani, what other films animated in the 90s do you want to give a shout out to?
He already said Batman, the anime series. It was amazing. And you said Lion King, and Lion King is pretty much it.
You do love that movie.
I love it so. It's like all the things. I was gonna say Lion King.
Well, tell us why.
Unfortunately, it made me cry at the Circle of Life. Circle of Life, by the way, I didn't watch movies like at that time. It was what, 93? What was that?
93, 94, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And my dad took me to a theater, and it was THX Sound. And I sat down. Yeah, I know. It was the first time it happened. And you're sitting down. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yes.
And so you're sitting down and you watch it, and it's like the circle of life. And you get that feeling from it. And it's powerful. It makes sense. And I do a lot of things that, good, bad things happen. But that feeling that I felt when I first saw it made me cry. And I never cry in film. And it was Lion King, hands down. It's a father passing his legacy to his son and how his son deals with it. And
it's Hamlet.
It is.
It's Hamlet.
In the best
and
way
it's beautiful.
possible.
It's a beautiful movie. I love The Lion King, Jelani.
Yeah.
That's a great pick. It's Circle of Life.
You got to cry about it.
Hakuna Matata.
Yeah. It's a wonderful phrase.
I just can't wait to be king. Great music. Great animation. Great story.
You point at it. Still. Everything. They're making plays about it. Still.
Yeah. And the famous meme.
Look
over there.
Look over there.
What about you, Jeremy? What are your favorite 90s animated films?
So my favorite for sure was Aladdin when I was younger.
Oh,
I used to,
great.
I used to have, I had a bunch of the CDs that came out with the movies back in the day. Man, I killed that Aladdin CD. That soundtrack was some dope shit right there. A whole new world, man. Of course, Lion King, amazing. So for non-Disney stuff, Ferngully.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah, Ferngully, dude. Tim Curry as the giant smoke monster, if you remember that. The basis for Lost.
True.
Yep.
True.
That's my story. I'm sticking by it. And Mask of the Phantasm.
Of course.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Rescuers Down Under, I guess.
Rescuers
Down Under?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Rescuers
Down Under
came out
in the
80s.
90s. Yeah, but the sequel.
Did he steal that from you, John? Because I know
He
you're a
didn't.
Rescuers
He didn't.
fan.
I love the Rescuers.
That's a good choice.
That's the sequel. You're right, 1990.
Five-
Down Under was a big deal, man.
Yeah. Wait, Five Goes West, but American Tail.
Oh, yeah.
Five Goes West and American
The
Tail.
sequel, came out in the 90s.
Yeah, because American Tail is the first one, which came out in the 80s.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I like both of them, of course. And
You dug deep.
Hercules,
Yeah.
amazing. Hercules.
I thought Hercules was 2000.
I think it
It
was
was like
like
97.
This is the late 90s,
97,
yeah.
98, yeah.
Pretty much every really animated Disney movies
That's true.
was the
It was the
90s.
90s.
And then 2000s was a bunch of CG and stuff, pretty much. So
Little Mermaid.
Except for Tarzan. Little
See-
Mermaid's 87,
Was it
89,
80?
something like that.
I was
Really?
also not really into Little Mermaid as a kid. I don't know. It just didn't click with me. So
What about you, John? Speaking of Little
You're not
Mermaids.
Yeah, there was the Disney really had like a renaissance in the 90s.
Absolutely.
Lion King, we mentioned, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Mulan, Pocahontas. We actually did a Disney podcast, so if you're listening to this and you didn't check that out, check out a
I'm
Disney
open.
podcast.
You should,
We talked
yeah.
about all the great stuff that Disney has done, especially those 90s animated films. We talked about the soundtracks. But really, they had a renaissance, and they did some great stuff. Bluth had left Disney before that and started his own studio. Then of course, in the 90s, he was working with Fox in the Fox Animation Studio, and the first film they did was Anastasia. Or is it Anastasia?
Anastasia.
I guess it depends if you're Russian or you're American, how you say it. Anastasia. Great film. And then that led to the anime films of the 90s, which were Ghost in the Shell.
That's right.
Princess Mononoke, Jinro, The Wolf Brigade, Battle Angel. There was a bunch of great anime films.
I watched a lot of those.
Because Akira kind of put that in motion in the 80s, but all these great anime films came over in the 90s as well to the U.S.
There's some really good answers there. And of course, Mulan, Lion King. We've talked about all these Disney things, Mask of the Phantasm. One more thing I'm going to throw out there is DuckTales, Treasure of the Lost Lamp.
Oh, that was one of
That's
mine.
right.
I forgot
Awesome
about
movie. Awesome movie.
Yeah, I totally forgot.
Great movie. I have it on. I joined the Disney Movie Club specifically to get that because it was the only way you could get that. And one thing I want to say here, John, is you were talking about all these anime films. And I'm going to go ahead and say we need to at least give an honorable mention to Akira because it came out Christmas of 1989.
It's close.
That's
so
pretty
that's
close.
basically
Yeah.
a 90s film,
Jinro's
right?
made by the
At
same
least in
animator.
America, I guess it came out there, but it was Christmas
It came out in
Day,
the
89.
90s in
Akira's so
America.
Yeah.
groundbreaking.
Okay, but the original
Yeah.
release in Japan then was 89, but it's at the very tail end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's close enough.
And Akira really helped launch, I think, a renaissance in America.
It did.
And
For
an
anime.
acceptance
For movies.
of anime.
Yeah, it really did because so Akira comes out at the tail end 89. I believe it even got released at the tail end 89 theatrically in a small run, and then it got a larger run in the U.S. in the 90s. But the success of Akira brought about all these other people that bring anime to the States. And actually, I believe Manga Entertainment was set up because of Akira. And then you got these other companies like Funimation, ADV, Pioneer start bringing stuff in. And if it was the theory was if it's successful over here, it'd be successful over here. It doesn't always work out. If it's not successful over there, luckily you can get the license cheap, like Bebop. Copy Bebop, as much as I love it, it wasn't the big hit that we all think it was, but it was successful over here. So we were picking up these unknown franchises because it was cheap. You didn't have to pay to produce this show. Just take it, dub it, sometimes just subtitle it, distribute it in the States, and just roll the dice, and maybe you got a hit. So there's been some great shows. So the 90s, it really took off. I mean, the 80s, we definitely had anime. I mean, we had... and even the 70s, so we had stuff like Robotech, and you have stuff like Speed Racer. I mean, it was always trickle over to the States. But the 90s, because of Akira in the late 80s, it kind of set a new I don't know if it's at like a new bar, like new love for anime, I should say. And they were also doing stuff that Disney and nobody else was doing.
And would you say that like Adult Swim, Toonami, Cartoon Network,
That's
like
an
had
extension
something to
of
do
what
with,
it is.
Well, Toonami really was early 2000s, I think.
Okay, but like
Late 90s. That helped, though. It didn't hurt by any means because it introduced people to stuff that normally they wouldn't have seen. There might have been, what was that? Some other channels were running like blocks of anime. G4 was running anime blocks.
Yeah.
Before, when G4 was still G4. I think it might have been Tech TV at the time.
Back in the 90s, Fox tried bringing Dragon Ball Z to the States. It was like 1993 or 94.
Yeah, some
and
people
it didn't do so well.
experimented with stuff. So, again, it was any way you could be introduced to it, and then it picked up and took off. And that was still, obviously, the VHS. This is pre-DVD, but a lot of places were renting stuff. I mean, I remember renting, just based on the cover alone, Neon Genesis Evangelion. I'm like, that's a cool cover. Let me check this out. And what a mind fuck
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
that was. So again, it took off, and a lot of this, we owe a lot to Akira. Again, there was great anime before that, there's great anime after that, but Akira's success in the U.S. was sort of the gateway drug to all these other companies bringing stuff in. Of course, then you've got fights. You got something that you get these new small properties like, oh, there's a show called Cowboy Bebop. It didn't do too well over here. We're going to try it in the States. It gets huge. Now everybody's fighting for the rights for the film.
Please don't do a film.
Yeah, and then they did do an animated film. Well, they did an animated film. Remember the Knocking on Heaven's Door?
Yeah.
I'm talking about live action.
Oh, yeah, they
or
want to do a live action.
No, let that
Hopefully, the Ghost in the Shell movie being so mediocre is...
Yeah.
They came out recently. Not the Ghost in the Shell animated film, which did come
The
out in the
one we
90s
reviewed.
and is a great film. But the live action film was mediocre at best. And hopefully that's makes Hollywood step back and be like, look, we got to be careful with what we do with these. Maybe we don't dick with these properties. I don't know. Because they want to do a Battle Angel live action.
No.
James
No.
Cameron
Don't do
Cameron
it.
does.
They tried to
Don't
bring
do
Akira to live action, and
So-
they had what's his name? That wrote.
Guillermo del Toro was going to do it for a
No,
while.
it was
He would be fine
Keegan
for it.
or Peel.
He
One of
might-
them. Keegan.
He's
he
doing
was.
Akira.
He can't. They canceled it. He was going to do it,
Oh,
but
thank
yeah,
goodness.
yeah. No, don't bother
No.
with it. Just leave it be in animated form. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, James Cameron is initially attached to Battle Angel, but he sort of took back step because of all the. He's working on the trilogy of what's the 3D films that he does?
Oh,
Avatar.
Avatar movies.
Yeah.
So that
You
kind of-
forgot
so-
Avatar.
So I think all of us are anime fans. Maybe not all hardcore, but any favorite anime films from the 90s? Jeremy?
Well, Princess Mononoke.
Princess Mononoke.
Yeah.
Great film.
Even
Beautiful film.
Even though the dub is, I don't know, man.
That's
it's-
Miyazaki, right?
Yeah, it's Miyazaki. The dub's a little bit questionable. I don't think it's horrible, but I forget the name of the character, but he's voiced by I forget, but it's a weird, like some of the voices don't match up, I think, with the characters. If you go back and watch
It's
it,
a little weird hearing Billy Bob. In
Yeah,
it.
Billy Bob
Yeah,
Thornton. That's
Billy
it.
Bob
It's
Thornton's in it,
it's like a
yeah.
weird. I don't know. I didn't feel that too much. I was like, I don't know. But yeah, like most Miyazaki films, I love because that was pretty much my first introduction to a lot of like animated anime films.
Yeah.
And then it's the 80s, but I used to really love Little Nero or Little
yeah.
Nemo,
Little Nemo.
in Slumberland. I used to love that when I was a kid, which
Yeah,
is an
French,
anime.
French, right?
No,
Was
it's
it?
anime.
Oh, okay.
It's totally an anime. It's actually
I think it's based on a French comic. Or
Yeah, it's
something.
based on a French comic, but like the actual animated feature, that's an anime.
Cool.
It's based by a Japanese company. I can't remember who made it, but it's an anime. That's pretty much it for me. Like Akira was okay, but for some reason when I didn't watch Akira until I was in high school, and I was like, this is okay, but it didn't click with me that much for some reason.
Yeah, and I think if you saw it before you saw the other stuff, you kind of set this.
Yeah,
It's in itself is a great film, and it's animated well. It's very slow paced, but again, it opened this doorway.
yeah, I understand the importance.
Yeah, Robbie, favorite anime films? You're not a big anime buff, but you like some anime.
Yeah, I'm not the hugest anime guy,
Yeah.
but as far as film goes, I love Akira. I think that's good. And what, did Blood, the Last Vampire, was that 90s or was that 2000?
I want to say that's
That was
2000.
2000.
All right,
I
but
think so.
series-wise, I love Neon Genesis. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, and there's a Neon Genesis film, the subsequent
Yeah,
anime
yeah.
film that follows
but
afterwards.
and also I love the Escaflowne series from the 90s, the
Oh,
Vision
yeah.
of Escaflowne. I actually like that one. It's a little weird. But I do
sure
like
it
that
is.
one
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, there was a lot of great. Again, they brought so much in, and some worked and some didn't, but they brought a lot of great stuff in the 90s. Any anime films or shows that you really like, Jelani?
I mean, other than Master of the Phantasm, gosh, you even mentioned DuckTales.
Anime.
Wait, anime.
No, anime.
Do you not?
I was
Are you not a
trying
big
to-
anime guy?
No, I love anime. Anime is great. Cowboy Bebop was the great time for us.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out where Vampire D fit in.
Oh
that
man, that's
80s?
80s. That's 80s. There
Was
is
that the
Vampire D
80s?
Bloodlust.
But it got like popular
No,
in America
it
in the
was
Oh,
90s.
yeah.
2000
Oh, yeah.
or something.
Yeah, it was more
Something like that.
popular in the 90s, but I think it
But
came out
in
in
the
the 80s.
90s, you had this sci-fi thing. Sci-fi had this event where they were like, we're going to only show anime movies. And so they showed us Vampire Hunter D. They showed this other movie called Lens Man. And then there was another movie. And that's how I was introduced to anime.
Oh,
I had
nice.
no idea about it. And then sci-fi dropped these movies on me. And I was like, I guess I got to watch these things. And like, it was more adult.
Oh yeah.
It was a little bit more violent. Like, you never saw that in cartoons. And you get cartoons a lot where you're like, yeah, you know, it's this and this and this. And like, you don't have adult themes. There's nothing like holding you to it. And all of a sudden, anime throws that into you. And you're a little bit better. Because they make that stuff like heavy metal
oh
was
yeah.
a thing in the 80s. But then you get to anime, and it's a little bit different because the Japanimation that they called it was a lot better.
Yeah, they definitely they're people. You got to realize that Japan, obviously not as large as the States.
Of course,
They
not.
don't have the big Hollywood sets. They do more animated stuff than they do live action, and so if they want to do a drama, they'll do it as anime. It's more acceptable with adults, teenagers. Everybody watches
but
anime
they'll watch it
over there.
and they're not afraid.
Yeah, so they'll
to
do
watch
a
things.
drama or they'll do something more serious. Where over here, the target audience, or we always assumed is child's stuff if it's animated. So yeah, anime was huge here in the States, and continues to be. So the '90s, I think, was the Renaissance for that, and not Disney, which actually distributes all the Miyazako. What do you say his name?
Miyazaki.
Yeah,
Miyazaki.
He did all those great films.
Miyazaki.
But yeah, so that's anime in a nutshell. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about anime when we come back, because we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about our top 5, our favorite animated series. We're actually going to reach out to the old social media, the Facebooks and the MySpaces and the Twitters or whatever. I don't know, you crazy kids.
The live journals.
Yeah, see what you guys like out there in the internets. But we're right back on Pop Culture Philosophers, 90s anime. Animated, not anime. 90s animated.
Hey everybody, it's Rockin' Robbie here. I am thrilled to announce another all-new episode of Rockin' with Rockin' Robbie is about to hit exclusive to YouTube. This time we're talking about lies and fish. It's going to be super, super fun. I am there, Hammertime, Holshoe, Justified Justin, and Jumpin' and Jivin' James discussing lies and fish. A nice mixture of subjects including Charlie the Tuna and President Nixon. Of course, you hear both of those subjects in the same podcast when you're talking about lies and fish. That's Rockin' with Rockin' Robbie, exclusive only to the Pop Culture Philosophers YouTube channel.
Hey everybody, we're back. Pop Culture Philosophers. We're talking about 90s animation. I'm, of course, John Hammertime Holshoe. With me, again, Jeremie Day.
What's up?
Jelani Bullard.
What's up?
And, of course, as always, Rockin' Robbie Billups.
What's up?
Yeah.
I think...
Are we doing a theme? What's up?
I think... Was that a 90s thing? The
Yeah,
Bud
that was
Light?
Yeah.
Was it Bud Light?
Was it animated? Because, they're like puppets.
I think that was the
animated
90s.
puppets or something.
Animated frogs.
What's up?
Speaking of animated frogs, I think, Robbie... Do you have some of the old social medias? I think you reached out to them, right?
Yes, we reached out to people on social media on various platforms like Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Check us out there, guys.
Google Hangouts? Oh, nobody
I
uses
want
that.
to.
Check us out on Twitter at the PCP Show. Check me personally out on Twitter at the Rockin' Robbie. Check us out on Facebook.
Facebook.
The Facebooks.
We're Pop Culture Philosopher. Anyway, check us out there, and thank you guys so much for supporting us. But we asked everybody, what is your favorite 90s animated series? Chris Polk, the proprietor of Super Awesome Hero Comics. Check him out on Facebook, their Facebook page. Got an eBay site. Great comics, good stuff, good prices. Chris Polk said X-Men. He was really torn when I saw him today between X-Men and Batman. But he went with X-Men over it. Matt Loy, who is leaving The Deep. He used to work at The Deep, the comic shop that I manage, and we wish Matt Loy the best in the future. He said X-Men, the animated series. Mike Matthews, the voice, said, and this is something that has not been mentioned, 2 Stupid Dogs.
Yeah, there's a reason it wasn't mentioned.
Oh, Adam Landers says Rocco's Modern Life. Michael Finley said, does South Park count? Of course, buddy. So South Park. He also said his absolute favorite is Gargoyles, but he had guilty pleasures, Mighty Max and James Bond Jr. That's right.
James Bond Jr.
We love James Bond Jr.
Mighty Max.
James Donahoe said the Batman and Superman animated series from the 90s. Lance Allen said back then it was X-Men, now it's Batman. Paul Drew said Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Excellent pick.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Drew Madsen, who runs our Twitter page at the PCP Show, said Batman the animated series. Scott Green said it's a toss-up between X-Men and Wildcats. Wildcats.
Oh, I forgot about the
Wildcats.
That theme
animated
song,
show.
man.
That was a good show.
John Tichy said The Tick or Reboot. Audrey Sullivan said Street Sharks and SWAT Cats.
The Radical
I
Squadron.
forgot about them.
Sarah Took could not name one. She said X-Men, Batman, DuckTales, Tailspin, Darkwing Duck, Tiny Toons, and Samurai Pizza Cat.
I
That's
thought
a
you were like,
lot,
she couldn't
dude.
name
Samurai
one. I'm like,
Pizza
why the fuck?
Cats?
Good one.
What
Good
is
one.
Samurai
I
Pizza
forgot
Cats?
about
Speedy
that.
Cervici, he's the leader of the bunch. Make the heck, dude. Do you not remember that?
I never remember that.
David Bass says Gargoyles. Tim Campbell also says Gargoyles. Nelson Carvalho says X-Men. And Timothy Gorman, friend and fan of PCP, says Rocco's Modern Life and Ren and Stimpy. Thank you guys so much for the answers. I hope you enjoyed hearing them read here on Pop Culture Philosophers. Check us out on all the social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're all over the place. but not MySpace.
Yeah, because it's a dead medium.
I think bands like mediocre bands still use MySpace.
Yeah, they're
pimp
like
their stuff.
they're Nirvana of spaces.
So that was your favorite animated shows. Now we're going to get to our favorite animated shows. This is our top 5, the meat of the show. We've already given you the potatoes of the show, and then maybe in a little bit we'll give you the dessert. I think we have a creme brulee that Jelani's making for the show. I'm actually going to start. I'm going to start with Jeremie. This is your top 5 in descending order, please. Your top 5 favorite animated shows, if you can whittle it down to top 5.
Descending, like, do you want me to start at 1 or number 5?
Number 5.
That's ascending then.
Oh.
It doesn't matter what John says. You know how we do
God
it.
damn it. I said it again.
He was
always
saying
messes
descending
up. All right.
like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
5, 4, 3, 2. Yeah,
me get
reverse order.
Let me just move us
Let's
along.
cut this all. We'll just cut out the whole show.
Oh, no. Well, okay, so my number 5 is Rugrats. And I was really torn on this.
Thank you for saying that.
But I mean, I was like, oh man, do I want to put Rugrats this low? I was like, I have to because there's so many other like more awesome things. But Rugrats is so revolutionary for the time because of like the diversity they introduced in the show. Like, you know, they explored a lot of themes like besides the Hanukkah episode. Do you remember that? Yes. Chucky having to deal with, you know, his being having a single parent, and they brought that up a couple of times in the show, like the Mother's Day episode. That's a little sad. I was like, oh no, poor Chucky. So yeah, Rugrats. It's a really good show. I loved it as a kid. It's in my top 5.
I used to watch that every Sunday night.
Yes, it was a good show.
That was Nickelodeon, though, right? They had that dominated.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon was
dominated
killing it
anime.
in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were.
And a great theme song by the guy from Devo.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
Mark, oh my goodness, I can't remember his last name.
Mothersburg?
Yeah,
Mothersburg?
yeah.
He was in Diva. I know who he is, but I didn't know he was in Diva.
He did the Rugrats thing. Yeah.
Yeah, damn.
What's your
That's
number 4, sir?
My number 4, it is Darkwing Duck.
When there's trouble, you call DW.
DW, yes.
I can't believe as much as you talked about it today that it's your number fucking 4.
Dude, so I'm telling you, man. Okay, so listen,
Yeah,
the
that's pretty
90s,
low.
the 90s is an amazing time for animation, bro. I don't know what else to tell you. There's a lot of options, but yeah, I've stated earlier why Darkwing Duck is so awesome. Like, it's pretty much okay. So when I was younger, I would say that it's like more kid friendly Batman, but I guess again it's based off the Shadow, which is still cool. That was my introduction to that kind of theme, like Norse stuff. I didn't know that as a kid, of course, but now I know. All the villains were interesting villains.
Yeah.
I mean, for a quote unquote kid show, it was really mature with the writing and things.
And another great toy line.
Yeah, I mean, the toys came
They had
afterwards,
great toys.
but they were good toys. Like, it was another show that was not made to sell toys, but those toys followed, and it was amazing. That's
Because
fine.
Darkwing Duck had an amazing rogues gallery.
Yeah, dude. Oh, man. With Taurus Bulba. Oh,
Yeah.
my God. I love Taurus Bulba.
That was the plant guy, right?
No, Taurus Bulba was like he was basically the kingpin
Okay.
of the show. He was pretty much the kingpin.
And you remember there was a plant guy, there was an electro guy.
there was
like-
You gotta build
something root. I don't remember his name, but yeah, I forget all.
It was like a Mega Man game.
Yeah, dude, they did. It was like Mega Man mixed with Batman with villains. There's a lot. And my number 3 is Gargoyles. So let me tell you about how awesome Gargoyles is. That cast, oh my God. So basically back in the 90s, for Gargoyles, they rotated the hell out of like Star Trek cast.
That's all they were.
There was, I mean, like, it started off with
Basically
Jonathan
all they were.
Frakes. They had like James Avery showed up at some point. There's a lot of Star Trek people during the time. And they all came on the show at some point for some reason. I don't know. But it was a good thing because you end up with a lot of diverse characters because of the diverse actors portraying those characters in voice alone. So we ended up with some really sweet characters, some sweet storylines. My introduction to a lot of mythology came from Gargoyles. Like the episode where they're exploring the dream time. I was like, what's that? That's cool. That's awesome. And then had all the mythology things. They went to, they battled Oberon, Lord of the Fairies, all this stuff. It was really dope. They had the like Phoenix Gate and all that. There was a lot of cool arcs. It started getting a little weaker in the 3rd season, but
they were trying to end it.
Yeah, they
There
were
was a lot of
trying,
different
but
things.
they were trying,
Yeah.
but I think the network execs wanted it to go further.
They always want money, man.
All right.
So my number 2 is X-Men, the animated series. So
Great show.
I was really torn about this one too, because there's just a lot of things that fit in this slot. But yeah, awesome theme song. My introduction really to comic books. Before X-Men, I didn't read comic books really as a kid. And X-Men kind of introduced me to that. And to this day, I fucking love X-Men. X-Men is where it's at. Unfortunately, Marvel's killing it.
Oh man, X-Men's actually gotten a lot better.
Is it better now?
Yes.
I mean, I've read.
You need to read Astonishing X-Men.
New Astonishing?
They have
Yes.
a new Astonishing
Is there a new
X-Men?
one?
Yes, and it's totally any 90s X-Men fan's dream. I promise you that.
Really?
Nelson Carvalho, who follows us on YouTube with the weekly comic book review, said that he picked X-Men as his favorite, just like you did, because it got him into comic books.
I mean,
And it got a lot of people. It got me into X-Men comics. I had read a couple of X-Men
It's
comics,
true.
but it
That's
never
where I
really
got into comics.
resonated with me. But the show was so good.
yeah, and unfortunately, I went back and watched it not long ago. It doesn't hold up to the test of time too much, but back then it was awesome. And I still appreciate what it did for me as a comic book fan. So number 2,
Wolverine's a little melodramatic.
Wolverine's a little bit, and Jean Grey and
made
Scott's
of
relationships,
awesome
like,
cake.
but my number 1 is Batman the Animated Series.
Oh.
Okay, so like number 1, I was gonna go with X-Men, but Batman still holds up through the test of time, like hard. Like I went back and watched that, I was like, this is still awesome. Animations still fly, stories still fly, characters amazing. I mean, it's Batman, but animated, so well, how can you go wrong? Paul Dini, writer, artist, Bruce Timm, and who also went on to go ahead and do Justice League Unlimited, and a bunch of other awesome stuff later
Yeah,
on.
they did the Superman show, and Alan Burnett was a big
The
part of
fact
all
that it
that
was
too
still-
back in the day.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
I mean,
Carol
so-
it was
Burnett?
the same universe.
Alan,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
Alan.
works
Yeah, I don't think
her
Carol-
nephew.
But yeah, so yeah, that's my top 5. I love the heck
That's
out
a
of
great top
That's
five.
a great
man.
top 5. Yeah, I was
I
going to
like
say,
your top 5.
and your number 1 and number 2
It was hard.
resonates with a lot of people's, obviously, that chimed in on the social medias.
I'm sure.
X-Men and Batman are great. You're right. I don't know if X-Men holds up as well, but it was probably closer to the style of the comic,
Gene!
which
Yeah.
Batman did its own style. And I was a little upset when before Batman premiered and I saw the animation style. I'm like, oh, what are they doing? But you know what? It works so well.
Yep, sure does.
And again, beautiful animation, beautiful music, the Art Deco style, great. And I think it's going to be on other people's top 5s, I would guess, if I care to venture. Let's jump over to Jelani. Give me your top 5 animated films, if you can whittle it down to just 5.
All right, I want to give this to someone that wants to read what my top 5 are. My number 5 is South Park. I say South Park. Yeah, I love that show. It works where it needs to work. And Trey Parker and Matt Stone, I'm so impressed with what you've done with just cutouts. Like, you started with a general story of a town with redneck people, and they do their thing, and they do dumb stuff, and dumb things happen. But then later on, you get more political, you get more involved in what you're doing, and I love it. I mean, and the fact that it started at a time where I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I just wanted to watch some cartoons. These guys, like, work their cartoons out, so I'm impressed with South Park. Number 3.
Wait, you might want to do number 4 first.
No, I want to do 4.
You gonna jump to 3?
Let me see it.
Oh, you give me your list. You're like, hold on to
'Cause
this.
I was like,
wait, I
hold on
need
to
that
this.
list back.
Nah, you're right. Oh, yeah, that's right. It was Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing Duck.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a time in my life, like, I love DuckTales. DuckTales was a great start. And I think the extended universe is Darkwing Duck. Because, of course, Launchpad shows up, and you're like, Launchpad, I remember him. But then it's darker, because you're in the city of St. Canard. You're with a guy who just wants to fight crime. And then he finds this girl, and this girl is a part of his life, and he's trying to raise her to be the right person he wants her to be.
What was her name?
I can't
remember, but she was an amazing character.
Gosling?
Gosling.
It was Gosling.
Doesn't she remind you of, what's her name? Penny? Who's the girl from Inspector Gadget?
Yes.
Gadget.
Who
Yeah,
was voiced
she's
by Chris
Penny from
Summer, and I mentioned it
pretty
earlier.
much. She's a great sidekick. But you go, yeah, all right. But Darkwing Duck is awesome.
It's a great show.
3. We're Animani, totally insane, Pinky and the Brainy, or whatever you want to put there.
Where's Lon Chaney?
Animaniacs. Animaniacs was out there.
Oh yeah.
It's I can't even explain it more than what it is.
I love that
Anime
they're the
is
cartoon characters that were locked up in the tower.
Yeah, they're just we can't deal with these three people, so we're gonna put them in a tower forever. Oh wait, they're gonna get out. Wait, adventures happen.
Sounds like Lord of the Rings to Donald Trump.
A little bit. Oh God,
It
It's
really,
all those things.
watching it now, some of the
kinda
jokes
scary.
were A, over a kid's head, and B, maybe not
Yes.
appropriate for a kid.
Fingerprints.
It was adult.
I'm not going to
I'm gonna
fingerprints. No,
fingerprints.
dust for
Yeah.
fingerprints.
It makes the sense of all the things. Hello, nurse. Like the fact she had a PhD. Like that was background to each character that was in that show. So I was very.
There were the
impressed with
Goodfella
that.
pigeons.
Oh,
Yes.
the pigeons. I forgot about the damn pigeons.
Like
Good feathers. Wasn't that what
Yeah.
he's yeah.
The good feathers.
Penny. It came from Tiny Toons. So
Yeah.
you're just like that whole thing. That's number 3 for me. Number 2.
Dos. Numero dos.
Yeah. It's your number 2, which kind of makes me mad.
Oh, it's a poop?
It was X-Men.
Bum, bum, bum,
X-Men,
bum, 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 bum,
Like,
bum.
I should have said in my world that I wanted to live in the X-Men universe, because at least in the X-Men universe, I'd have mutant powers.
Would you?
What if you didn't?
Or
Would you want to be a human in that
I
universe?
wouldn't want to be a human
Would
in that
you?
universe.
Would you be the racist ass human?
I'd be like, kill him all! Yeah, I probably would. I'd be like, yeah, get some sentinels out there. But no,
That's a great show.
I want to be my life. Because, like, Charles Xavier was over dramatic.
You're a fool, Charles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone had a goal. It was special. And Morph. And, like, no one cares about Morph. I didn't care. about
friend.
And then all of a sudden there's a Morph. And apparently, like, Wolverine likes to scream about him a lot. He's never had a problem with him. So number 2 is my X-Men. Gene Scott. Gene Scott. I love that, like, dynamic. So, yeah, there's that. And then number 1.
I bet I know what your number 1 is.
No, I already said it. It's right there. You read it.
Does it rhyme with Catman?
No, it rhymes with
Catman, the Canimated
series. Of course, it's Batman. I mean, who wouldn't love, like, Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, like, in general, and Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill and everyone involved?
Yeah, so many
With
great
that show.
animators and voice actors and
They
producers.
changed the game for so many things. Batman, if you're so smart, then why aren't you rich?
That's a great episode.
It's
My favorite Riddler story.
Yeah, it's pretty badass. And you feel like Batman is involved in your life. And the fact that they continue it, like they want to make that world happen longer, it makes a lot of sense for me. So I love Batman.
That's a great top
this is
5.
number 1.
That's great.
Thank you.
It is a great top 5. I think we're going to get some more overlap as we continue. Robbie, I'd like to hear your top 5.
At least as far as me, Jeremie, and Jelani go, the only variation is in 5, 4, and 3. My number 5 is from the 1990 through 1995 series, produced by Steven Spielberg, Tiny Toons. Tiny Toons Adventures.
Really?
And there was so many. First of all, a big shout out to Eek the Cat.
Eat the Cat's awesome.
Eek the Cat.
Yeah,
and
you're
Bobby's
right.
World. Because we haven't mentioned either of those two. But
Howie Mandel. Yeah.
Eek the
Yeah,
Cat
that
was
was
something
good.
I really liked when I was growing up as a kid. Also, Garfield and Friends.
Garfield and
Love
Friends.
that one.
Yeah.
But number 5 is Tiny Toons. Specifically, it beat out things like Darkwing Duck because it's got, like, Darkwing had villains and it was cool and it had all the shadow stuff. But Tiny Toons, I love Looney Tunes, first of all. And Tiny Toons was just a perfect thing for kids in the
It's
90s
a compliment
that
to-
loved Looney Tunes. You had Buster Bunny and Babs Bunny. You had, what was the duck? It was Buster. No, that was the bunny.
Right.
Oh, God. The duck. Oh, my goodness. I can't remember the duck's
I
name.
remember there's a duck
But
in
they
it,
were
I can't
Lucky
remember.
Duck.
Plucky
It was
Duck,
Plucky
that's
Duck.
right.
Plucky,
Plucky
yeah.
Duck.
It
and
took me a while. I
They
was
had the
trying- I was
little
like,
Taz. Speaking, Tasmania was a thing in the 90s too. That was
Come
awesome.
to Tasmania.
But I love Tiny Toons,
Yeah.
the theme song, everything about it, all the crazy little characters, the Happy Meal toys.
Very
Oh my
right.
goodness.
Oh, wow.
Number 4, 1998 through 2005, Powerpuff Girls.
Yep.
I love Powerpuff Girls.
It was gonna be on my top 5.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I love it
Honestly,
so much.
I love it.
Mojo Jojo,
Yep, him,
great villains.
everything.
The what was it?
You fight Kaju.
What were the
like
yes,
every other time?
Yes. What were the evil? The boy version, they were evil. The rowdy,
The Roddy
Oh, I
boys.
thought you were talking about the gangrene.
The
gang.
rowdy.
oh,
the
and there's
rowdy,
gang
Roddy boys.
Yeah, the
or
rowdy
something?
boys or something.
Something like
Yeah,
that.
so great. So I love
I
Powerpuff
like them.
Girls.
Yeah.
The characters are amazing.
Yeah.
They are just fantastic. Number 3, The Simpsons.
The
1989 until today, still going on. The Simpsons, and I think their highlight is in the 90s. I can watch 90s Simpsons over and over
can't
and
watch it
over
now.
again. I love it so much. I mean, it was such a big deal. It was a huge deal. It has a great voice cast, prime time animated series, big deal. Things like Family Guy, Futurama, those would never have happened without the groundwork that Simpsons laid.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Family Guy.
Matt Groening is an amazing creator, a great world that still lives on today. Amazing characters. And here we go. Number 2, 92 through 97, it's X-Men. I mean, it's an amazing show.
It went for that long?
It's all
Yeah.
Oh.
It was
It's 5
long.
seasons, man, and
Gee,
it's good stuff.
Scott.
They encapsulate 50 years. At the time, they encapsulate 30 years of convoluted X-Men story and subplots, all in a
Yep.
5. They throw it all in there.
It's all together.
Yeah, Nightcrawler's
agree.
not in every episode, but he's there.
But he's there.
Psylocke's in there. Even Deadpool's in there for just a brief little cameo. They gave you everything that you wanted. 90s X-Men fans love
It's
that
what we
series.
wanted out of the movies.
And number 1 is what I think is not only the greatest animated series of all time, but I think it's the greatest iteration of Batman of all time. I think Batman, the animated series, especially the 92 through 95. Now,
I hope you're going to say the greatest 90s iteration of Batman is Darkwing Duck, and that's your number 1.
No, but no, seriously, like
It didn't even say Darkwing
it
Duck.
went on to WB when they did Superman. It was the Batman Adventures and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
like Batman, the animated series, especially the initial run
Yeah,
that was on
at
Fox.
But you even got
Yeah.
Batman Beyond.
That I
out of
know,
it.
right? But like that
Out of
Batman
it.
series is not only, in my opinion, the greatest animated series of all time, but it is the greatest version, the best version of the Batman story ever.
Ever.
It's better than all the Batman
Ever.
comics.
That's a hot take.
It is the perfect encapsulation of Batman. It is absolutely perfect.
This guy right
Clayface
here.
was a joke in the comics. Mr. Freeze was
Yeah,
a joke in the comics.
That's right.
They were amazing.
They were awesome.
and very three-dimensional. Hell, 11-dimensional characters in Batman the Animated Series. They made you feel for them. They
You
changed the comic
motherfucker.
books because of that animated series. That animated series not only changed animation and changed storytelling and superhero storytelling, it changed Batman. It changed comic books.
It did.
Its effects
That's
still
why we
resonate.
watch
Yeah.
movies now.
The effects of that animated series still resonate today. And that's my top 5.
That's a great top 5, and I'm happy Batman made your list. Great. Yeah, I love Batman. They did not only love Batman as a character, but they
doesn't
did
get
such
better
a good job.
I am the Knight.
Yeah.
And yeah, Kevin Conroy
Yep.
is Batman.
Is Batman.
Oh, yeah.
That voice is what I hear when I read Batman
is.
comics. Absolutely. Nora.
I love Nora.
Can we get a Batman movie with Patrick Stewart as Mr. Freeze, please?
Damn.
Oh, that, I pay money to see that. Shut up, take my money.
That's a
Man.
goddamn
You're
hot ass
right.
take. Everybody has.
That's a great top 5. I'm going to do my top 5 right now. I think we're going to see some overlap. I can't really add to that. So my number 5 is going to be... mine's a little askew, though, because I threw anime in there because you said, oh, we can put anime on
Yeah,
there.
but you
Now
love
I feel,
anime.
Yeah, now I feel like I'm cheating. But number 5, first deal runner-up, it seems like some people here don't like the show in particular, especially Jelani, but a show that started in the late 90s, but I'm not going to put it on there because it started in the late 90s. I still love Family Guy.
Really?
I like the humor style. I love
I
Seth
don't love
MacFarlane.
it now.
I'm just going to go on the record and say I don't like Family
No.
Guy.
I
But
don't
I'm not
like
trying to steal
Family
your
Guy.
thunder.
Yeah.
I used to like
I like
Family
it on
Guy,
and off.
but not now.
Yeah, I like the humor style. I think Seth MacFarlane is great. And he's got a new show coming out actually called Orville, which is the sci-fi show.
I'm about that, though.
That looks amazing.
It's about popcorn, right?
Yes,
popcorn in space.
Exactly. Exactly. But my number 5, let's get to the actual, my top 5. It's a Disney one you guys, we talked about earlier, but wasn't in your top 5. Tailspin. I think, as much as I love Darkwing and DuckTales, Tailspin was ultimately my favorite of the group. If I had to pick a favorite, gun to my head kind of thing, because I really don't think I could. I love all those shows. But I love Tailspin. The fact that they took these great characters from the already established Jungle Book and put them in this new universe. You have Shere Khan, you have Baloo, you have Louie, taking these characters. Now, DuckTales obviously did that, to an extent, and Chip and Dale did that. They added a lot of other characters, but I think Tailspin took more characters, established characters than anybody else.
I mean, they straight up took them from the movies. I mean, like, Uncle Scrooge and Huey, Dewey, and Louie were just Disney characters, and so were Chip and Dale. But they took the characters from Jungle Book, which somewhere in the 90s they re-released that in theaters. Yeah, and it was a big deal. I think Tailspin may have been one of the reasons why they re-released it.
Yep.
Maybe it was. I love Tailspin.
Tailspin's great.
Yeah, that's my number 5. Number 4 is going to be X-Men. I love X-Men. They did a good job. They did a good job making that transition from the comic, and that was closest of all the animated shows I remember watching. As much as I love the Batman show, the one that was closest to the original comic was that. The art style, everything was just much closer to the comic.
It was straight up like Jim Lee and Andy Kubert threw up on a page.
They didn't do we're going to do this art style, or we're going to change this or this for the sake of... No, we're going to try to adapt it close to the comic.
And when we were talking about voice actors, I'm sorry I don't know the guy's name. Of course, the guy that did Wolverine, but the guy that did Apocalypse.
Apocalypse. We should have mentioned him when we talked about villains, because he was great in the show.
He wasn't Apocalypse. He was Apocalypse. It was worth it.
My number 3, again, we said we can put some anime in there, so I feel like I'm cheating, was Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Hey, it's the animated series from the 90s,
And again, it was a show that... So I watched animated American stuff. I watched a little bit of anime that was on TV. And then I went to this comic book shop that I used to always go to. And they started running videos there. And they had some anime. I was like, what's this? This is a cool looking box. And I rented the first... I think it had the first 3 episodes something on it of Evangelion. And it blew my fucking mind. Also great soundtrack. Not original music for the most part. I mean, they use other people's music. But great fucking show. I'm the only one swearing on the show tonight. Great fucking show. My number 2 is actually going to be something that you guys talked about already, which is Batman. I don't think I can add to it. Great animated show. Great music. Great cast. Again, I love the Art Deco style. The show holds up incredibly well. The only problem I have with the show now watching it is some things happen. You're like, well, that's a weird fucking coincidence. Like, how did that... But of course, you have to do that to help contain the episode.
It makes it larger.
Yeah. Otherwise, those same coincidences happen even in modern live-action shows, but you have to do it so you can move the story along, especially if you only have 22 minutes to tell this story, other than there were some, 2-parters or whatever. And Mark Hamill, introduction of Harley Quinn, but a great cast.
The fact that, I'm sorry.
The Mad Hatter. Yeah.
Harley Quinn was like a character in the animated series.
Yeah, first and foremost.
They made her a character that's real now.
I think Morph should be more popular, though.
Morph!
But he's dead, isn't he? Sorry, no, he's a villain. And my number 1...
No, he redeemed himself, man. Come on.
My number 1 is going to be...
He went off to find himself.
Cowboy Bebop, which I love Cowboy Bebop. The music... The voice actors, I think it's by the best voice actors of any anime. By far. Anything that's been brought over. There's some great voice actors, some crappy voice actors. You never know what you're going to get when you're bringing these shows over to the States. But a lot of things are like, oh, you can't watch it. There's people like Pierce, like, I'm going to watch it subtitled. No, Cowboy Bebop is the exception, because even the people that want to watch the original will watch the American version because they did such a great job and such a great voice cast. I should have looked up who did Jet and Faye and all these people. It's such a good show. And it's also not only great action and a lot of fun at times, there's also parts that hit close to home, like hit you right in the feels. Yeah. I mean, I was watching some animated shows, and that was probably the first show that made me, like, I don't know, almost reevaluate my fucking life.
That show also has a great use of music.
It does.
It's a great use of music, but again, there's some serious dark episodes. I don't know if you've seen all the episodes. It's the first show, too, that I watched that the ending left me like,
it's ambiguous. Yeah.
There's somebody important in the show, for those people not spoiling it, may pass away. But that was probably the only character ever died in an animated show that I actually felt like grief and loss in my life. More than any person in my actual person. I really was devastated over a fucking show, man.
Makes sense, man.
I mean, there's also just parts that hit you close to home. One particular part, I'm going to bring this up because it still, like, resonates with me. So, if you guys I don't know who's seen the show or not. So, Faye Valentine is one of the female leads on the show. It's her and Spike and Jet.
Yeah.
And she's a bounty hunter, whatever. But she's not from the time. It's in the future. They're bounty hunters in space, whatever. But she's not from that time. She's from a different time. She was an accident, and basically she was preserved so they could fix her. So she's she's from our time.
She's from us.
So she was an accident.
And she's sick.
And she was preserved, and now she's back or whatever. But she goes back. She has memory loss, and when she recovers her memory, she goes back to Earth to visit her old home. And she goes to her old home. Instead of her home being there, because this is years later, her family's all passed away. There is basically a brick outline because her house is gone. And she goes to where her bed once was, which her red room was. She does a trace of where her bed once was, and she lays there, because it was just dirt, and she lays there. And it's just like the most sad, because it's all gone. She remembers all these people, but they're,
And that's in that show. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, again.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, maybe I'm,
no,
over romanticizing the show.
Theme for each show.
Yeah, fantastic show. So that's my number one. I may have gone off a little bit. So
that's a good top five, though, man. That is.
I'm down with it.
I think everybody had some really good top fives here tonight. 90s animation, and this has been really, really fun. And we all grew up in the 90s, loving this stuff.
Yeah, so we're biased, probably.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about, why we think it stands out. And why we think it has rewatchability, or why there's more sophisticated storytelling and all these different things. Great villains, all this stuff. Why does it matter? These are our final thoughts. Thank you guys for being here so much. Here in the Huntsville Attic doing Pop Culture Philosophers. Jelani, Bullard, I appreciate everything.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Tell us real quick. Final thoughts.
Well,
why does 90s animation matter?
Well, because I hate to say this, but the 90s were the best time ever. Like, I had to say it because I guess no one else will. It's a dark time now. We live in an exceptional time. We live in the time of all things. But the beginning of what we loved, the reason why we loved it, was probably the 90s. I honestly have to say it because it was a deep time for all of us. And I think I had the most impressive things with the cartoons I watched during that time. Because, there aren't cartoons now. There's no one that can, you can watch them and they're out. But honestly, I think the 90s is the best time for us to have the dreams we have now for film. Because, you have the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't think there would be an X-Men 2000 because of X-Men in the 90s.
Oh, you're right. That animated show definitely, success of that
I really
probably
think,
spawned, not just the comic, but the success of the show might have spawned the film.
All of the success that they had came from the 90s. The pieces came from where they came from. And I enjoy everything about it.
It was a very
that's why.
Vibrant time in American culture, absolutely. Speaking of vibrancy, Jeremie, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being an expert in 90s animation. Tell me once again, for your final thought, why does it matter?
Oh, the 90s. So 90s animation matters because it's pretty much the groundwork for what we have now in terms of animation. We're going through animation kind of renaissance at the moment with a lot of the shows that are airing on these old networks, but a lot of these networks now, they got their start in the 90s. If they hadn't been airing what they were airing back then, a lot of the stuff they probably have now would not exist. So, they started pretty much exploring new ground with a lot of shows in the 90s.
Samurai Jack.
We wouldn't have a lot of these shows now without that groundwork, I don't think. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why the 90s is important to me. I think also, if it wasn't from the 90s, I wouldn't have the interest in animation I have now. It shaped a lot of my ideals when it comes to, animation and what it should contain, an animated series or animated movie should have in it. I think a lot of those values come from the 90s. And that's what it means to me, I think.
Great answers. Thank you guys so much, Jelani and Jeremie, for being on the show. Thank you guys for listening. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and I would say definitely I agree with you guys. It was a more sophisticated type of storytelling that started in the 90s with the animation. Better. And it was less about selling toys and more about selling stories. And animation today is it's all over the place. It's a whole big thing. And of course, CG has come in and taken over. But animated film, it still stands. And there are still brilliant animated films, great animated series. And in the 90s, it started growing up. It wasn't perfect yet, but it started growing up. And I think that's why it matters. What about you, John?
I think at least the 3 out of the 4 people here probably went through puberty in the 90s. So getting these deeper stories in that era, I think we were more susceptible, at least to deeper things. Your body going through changes. Your mind's going through changes. I think getting these deeper stories where you're starting to soak that in a little differently, and you're looking for more answers. And luckily there was some great animated stuff. So I think we may have put it a little higher because we're a little biased, but there was some great animated stuff in the 90s, and the Disney Renaissance, the anime making it stateside big for the first time, at least availability and being more acceptable and easily accessible, I should say. So again, a lot of bias, but it's important that we have that animation step. And I don't know, I look at a lot of stuff today, and there's some great stuff out there, but there's also just a lot of trash. And I don't mean trash like they make garbage. I mean trash as in you can tell where they're cutting corners on the animation, and it upsets me because I watch some of the stuff I'm watching my nephew watches. I'm watching my nephew. I have two nephews, and some of this stuff. I guess I have third now. But some of the stuff they watch is just. I'm like, this is what the schlock they're giving you.
You don't have cartoons.
I don't mean just by the story. I mean some of the animation. I'm like, what's the budget for this show? A nickel? Some of the animation is terrible, which makes me think we could all animate a damn show. So the 90s just, I don't know, it was at a high point. So again, I think we're biased in that whole thing, but I loved it. I loved it. And I'm happy we got to enjoy that time. So again, we appreciate you guys all tuning in. And next episode, I'm excited. We're going to do 70s horror.
70s.
We did an 80s horror, which is actually extremely popular. And we're gonna jump back to the old 70s there and discuss some of the great horror films of the 80s. So, I'm sorry, of the 70s.
Of the 70s.
Shit, we already did an 80s one. You can check out. Actually, it's on our YouTube and it's on the website too. Download it, stream it, etc. If you want to check it out, get ready for the 70s horror film, and that's kind of anticipation of the
Halloween season.
For Halloween, yeah, for the Halloween season to get pretty pumped about the greatest season of all, which is Halloween.
We love Halloween here at PCP. And to celebrate, we got the 70s Horror Podcast. We got an all-new Rockin' with Rockin' Robbie coming out. That's right. The 6th annual, Haunted Halloween Super Spooktacular Special.
Spooktacular.
Yes.
There are only 2.
The longest damn title.
Halloween.
It's a great episode. It's going to be super fun. Of course, we also have PCP Movie Night returning with Horror Fest.
Yep.
Getting lots of good horror movies, including George Romero, who unfortunately passed away this year. So I'm super excited to be celebrating Halloween with you guys here. And, of course, you guys listening. Thank you guys so much. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups signing out. Thank you for listening, Pop Culture Philosophers.
Thank you for listening. I'm John, Hammertime Holshoe. Check us next time. And remember, if you're on the site checking us out, you can subscribe to the show, should I say, on iTunes, Android. We're also on YouTube. We're also on Facebook. If you're already on iTunes or Android, check us out on the website, which is popculturephilosophers.com. I'm going to leave you with this. Life is like a hurricane
Here in Duckburg. Race cars,
know
lasers,
the rest of-
airplanes.
It's a
duck blur. Might solve a mystery or rewrite history. DuckTales. Woo!
I think, if we sing more, do we have to pay the rights or something? Maybe
Yeah, I'm scared about that.
Maybe we'll just phase out.
Yeah, public domain now. Rescue Rangers.
I thought you were singing Changes from David Bowie.
Changes.
Changes.
Time to break change.
Changes.